All right, it's recording.
All right, it's recording.
So we are making a sad video about baby stuff. I don't know. It doesn't have to be sad. It's a sad thing, but we're dealing with it. We've dealt with it, kind of. And we figure we should update people because we keep mentioning it. So So yeah, do you want to start?
So about maybe 9 months ago, maybe
We first
a little longer than that. It was in the spring of last year.
I first started taking the I had my first appointment with the one doctor and started taking the prenatal vitamins on the 1st of May last year.
Yeah, and we were really excited to try to have a baby, to try to have Cassie get pregnant.
Yes,
and we went very far in our attempts.
Well, so I had never, I'm a lesbian. I've never slept with a guy, but I always assumed that, well, sort of.
You've never had sperm on the table.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, and I've also never taken birth control. I haven't had a whole lot of sex anyways, or sex with a whole lot of people. So, I just sort of figured if that ever came up, I would deal with it, but it didn't. So, until, of course, we decided, we wanted to have a baby, and the way to do that is obviously insemination, which I could have done at home, I suppose, or tried at home, but I don't know, legally speaking, I feel safer going to someone and using anonymous sperm and all that, so we were going to do that. But I kind of assumed it was going to be an easy process because I have a very large family. Lots of baby announcements.
So many cousins. Oh my gosh, she has how many is it ballpark me for cousins?
In the 20s.
Yeah,
if you count my second cousins, but I do because they're all right there.
Big family, so, lots of aunts and uncles, lots of cousins.
Yeah, big family. Also, a few miracle babies, people who were told that they couldn't have kids anymore, and
then they had them.
Yeah, pretty quickly after stopping birth control. Lots of accident babies, including me. so kind of figured, it's not gonna be difficult. Went to so the first little setback that we had was we contacted a reproductive endocrinologist that the first doctor I saw recommended, because she was like, I don't do this, but here's some people. So she recommended somebody who we contacted, who then sent us a very snippy email back saying nobody in this area is going to go anywhere near a same-sex couple, and you'll probably have to drive to Atlanta, Georgia.
Which turned out not to be remotely true.
Not even a little, thankfully. And thankfully we kept looking and we didn't just take her word for it, because...
And we found someone very nearby, just maybe 20-minute drive away, who was awesome.
Yes, fantastic. She's...
And when did we
really
have
great.
The first appointment with that doctor? I think it was in July. It was in August.
No, I had my surgery in August. It was in June.
It was in June. Okay.
Yeah, so it was earliest June. I went for an initial ultrasound, which was it was supposed to be just let's just make sure everything's working fine. And, I didn't think I'd had any reason to believe it wouldn't be working fine.
Right.
Which turned out some of the reasons that I thought were some of the things I thought were reasons why everything was working fine are actually signs that things possibly are not working fine. I had a short cycle, and that is, I guess, often associated, according to some things I've read, often associated with endometriosis. So fast forward, had the ultrasound. She looked at the first side and was like, oh, see, this is your ovary, isn't it lovely? And I was like, yeah, cool, great. And then went to the other side and got that look on her face, if you're watching House or Grey's Anatomy or whatever, and they're like, oh no, this person has cancer, I don't want to tell them. She had that little moment, and I was like, oh crap, what's wrong? Turned out I had a very large cyst on one of my ovaries, my left ovary, I think. And so she was like, well, you know, it might not be a problem, but it's probably endometriosis. And if it's that big right now, there's probably more of it, you know, in other places, which could be a problem. But, you know, at that point, she didn't know how bad it was, if it was just the one cyst, which, or if there was more endometriosis in other places, or even if that's for sure what it was. She was like, I've seen this a lot of times. I'm almost like 95% sure that's what it is, but we don't know. You know.
Right.
We're not 100% certain unless we do surgery, which I would have to do at some point so that, you know, before the cyst bursts and causes all kinds of pain and horror.
And so we tried the first time in late July, right?
Yeah, we did.
Before, so we decided to go forward with an attempt at insemination.
Just to see if it worked.
And Cassie was inseminated in late July of last year.
Mm-hmm.
And she didn't get pregnant. And the doctor's next recommendation was surgery, right?
Yeah, she said she highly suspected that it wasn't working because of there was probably more problems with endometriosis than just the one cyst, and that I was gonna have to get surgery at some point anyway, so I figured, you know, why not?
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did, because after they did the surgery, she said I had stage 4, which is the worst.
The most advanced endometriosis you can have.
Mm-hmm. Thankfully, it wasn't too much on other organs. It was mostly my tubes were blocked. My uterus had stuff growing on the outside of it. There was stuff all over my ovaries, and also some stuff getting towards my bladder and not on my kidney, but on a tube that's connected to my kidney. I don't know, but she did say that if I had waited for too much longer, it could easily spread to my kidneys, and they might have had to be removed, or one of them, not both of them, the one that it was going to. So I'm glad I did the surgery, and, you know, I won't have any cysts bursting or any other stuff disappearing. And after that, immediately after that, I was just in a lot of pain.
It was a terrible surgery recovery process. This was in August of last year, and they told her she would be like up and about in like 3 or 4 days, mm-hmm. and it was like it was a week before you could even like walk around semi comfortably.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks before you really felt like mostly like yourself.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Fun Vicodin dreams, though. I don't know if that happens to everyone, but some really, really fucked up dreams.
Yeah. And so then we started to try again.
We did, and she recommended that we try 3 times or for 6 months. So basically, it comes back, right? You get surgery to remove the stuff, but it grows back. It grows back, right?
Right.
So you have to do something to try to treat it.
Right. And the ultimate recommendation further down the line is a full hysterectomy, right? Mm-hmm. Which, side note, as a trans man, I would love to take the hysterectomy off your hands. Uh-huh. But yeah, because it can lead to cancer.
Yeah,
if it's left. And this would be, I mean, this isn't tomorrow, but it would be...
No, but she said probably before I'm 40, or at least before I'm 45.
Yeah.
So I've got, I don't know, a decade.
Right. And you have 6 months that's kind of the window of if your fertility is going to be better, it's going to be in that 6 months.
Right.
Yeah.
After they've done the surgery. And then after 6 months, there's a pretty good chance it's already started growing back. And then after a year, it's like, you know, it's probably all back to where it was before, at least according to her. And so we tried for 6 months.
Yeah, we only managed to do 3 inseminations in the 6 months because there were various...
Did we do 4?
We did 4 total. No, we did 4 total. 1 before the surgery, 3 after the surgery, and 3 months where things, for whatever reason...
Oh, Lord. Okay.
We kept running into problems with...
So one of the things that happened was, Oh, she put me on a slightly, so I tried it once and it didn't work, and she was like, well, since we know your endometriosis is pretty bad, why don't we put you on a slightly higher dose of the letrozole, which is what the fertility drug that I was taking. And it was a very slightly higher dose over a longer period of time so that it was, more spread out. For whatever reason, my body reacted very strongly to that, and I ended up with 8 eggs. 8
yes.
eggs in my ovaries at a time.
Too many eggs.
Yes, way too many.
Yes, because we don't want 7 or 8 babies.
No, and the likelihood of 7 or 8 babies is small, but the likelihood of 3 to 5 was pretty high.
It sounded like she said that if you got pregnant at all, you were likely to have 5.
Yeah, and I can't do that. I'm very small.
And even if you weren't, 5 babies is a lot for anyone to carry.
Right.
I know people manage
it.
But
I can't do But the point is, no.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
So, the reason 5 is bad is that because if I was pregnant with triplets, I could reduce and get rid of one of the embryos and then have twins, right? But she said if I was going to get rid of more than half, so with 5, I would have to get rid of 3, which is more than half. She said doing that, the most likely outcome is just a miscarriage.
Right.
Or a danger to the other embryos, or who knows.
Right.
Didn't seem worth...
Right, and you're really too small to carry 3.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
It's just 2 is pushing it, right? 1 is the ideal. So, anyways, we decided not to go forward with that because it just didn't sound like a good idea.
Right.
And went back the next month for an ultrasound to sort of see, see if things had gone back to normal, because she said there was a chance of a cyst forming because of the number of eggs, just stretching things out, I guess. And of course the cyst had formed, so we couldn't try again that month. Yeah. So I had to go on birth control for a month to shrink the cyst, which was horrible. I am not a fan. At least of that birth control, maybe.
She didn't take well to birth control.
No. And that doesn't mean necessarily that I don't take well to birth control at all, just that wasn't...
Yeah, wasn't the right one.
So anyway, so I had a month of that. So that was 2 months that we couldn't do it. And this is remember, we've got a 6-month window.
6-month window.
Then we tried again, and that, normally, I guess. And then she tried me on a different drug, which is supposed to be more...
And we should talk a little bit, I think, also about all of these trials, because, it's really hard. You go to the...
Well,
I just want to talk about how much we wanted a baby and how...
Yeah.
How kind of disappointing it was every time when we would...
At first it
get our hopes up, and then...
fun. Even the shot... Okay, so the process is basically... I call the doctor when I first get my period, right? I say, I got my period, and they're like, okay, cycle day 1, go to Walgreens and pick up this prescription, and take it from day, depending on the drug, it's either from day 3 to 5 or 4 to 8, I think, something like that, yeah. So anyway, take that, and then when you're done with that, come in for an ultrasound, and we'll see...
How many eggs,
right? And if they look like they're the right size and all that stuff, and nothing else is wrong. And then
Then, the next day or later that day...
Yeah.
You get a shot in the butt.
Right.
Which is a trigger shot, which makes the ovaries release the eggs.
Yes, which is synthesized from pregnant lady pee. So I was letting... this kid inject me with pregnant lady pee
in the butt
every month.
And it was quite painful.
Yeah, the first couple times it wasn't that bad, and then I don't know, I guess just the more I did it,
something, man.
Yeah.
And then the next the day or so after that, you would go and be inseminated, and that was quite painful also for you, right?
Yeah, the first time was really painful because I guess I have a curved cervix, which I didn't know that was a thing, but apparently it is. And she had to kind of go in there, it kind of felt like she was trying to grab it and move it forward or something with her hand, which hurt like hell. And then there's this catheter thing that goes in there, which also hurts like hell. And she's trying to wiggle it around and figure out exactly what direction it's supposed to be going, and I don't even know. So anyways, that hurt. Subsequent inseminations weren't as bad because she was used to it, knew kind of how things worked, but they still weren't fun.
Weren't terribly pleasant, yeah.
No.
And then we would have to wait for 2 weeks.
Yeah, which that was probably the worst part.
2 weeks while I think we both would convince ourselves that it would alternate. Like, oh, this is definitely not going to happen. Oh, maybe it's going to happen. Oh, we're pretty sure. Oh, this time it worked. Like, and then we would do a pregnancy test and 4 separate times.
Right.
Had to have our hopes dashed.
One time I got a faint positive one of the days.
Yeah.
And then it was gone.
Yeah.
And
which could be a chemical pregnancy, which means that something kind of was trying to implant and then didn't quite, or whatever.
Didn't really work, yeah.
Anyway, it was very tough.
Yes, it was very stressful. And more exciting at first.
Yeah.
As it went on, it was kind of like, well, that's okay, you know, it's...
Well, and we were also reading more about endometriosis and stage 4 endometriosis in particular.
Yeah.
And finding out that the prognosis for you getting pregnant was
low,
less good than we had hoped.
Yeah.
And much less good than we had sort of assumed. It was like, oh, we'll have the surgery. Oh, it'll help.
Well, let me go back to what I was saying.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the thing about the, like when the first few times it was exciting and it was like, you know, like, oh, we're going to try this, maybe it'll work. And then since the doctor had said try 3 times before you get too worried, like, the second and third time, it was like, okay, like, well, there's still a chance, like, you know, kind of hopeful, but more tentative. And then after that, it was like, well, you know, just because usually it should work in 3 times, like, we could try it a 4th time. And then it was just like, no, I can't. Like, you know, can convince ourselves up to 4 times. But then, and I started to have symptoms again.
That's the other scary thing. So we ran out our 6-month window.
Yeah.
And you started to have symptoms that are, like, not as bad as what you were having in terms of, like, back pain and very painful periods and stuff like that.
So let's go back to the fact that I thought that nothing was wrong with me. And after surgery, had relief from pain that I didn't even know I had and symptoms. Like, okay, so things that went away after the surgery were back pain, lower back pain that I had all the time. And I have scoliosis, so I always just assumed anything with my back was because of that, you know, which apparently not. And then also I didn't have to pee as much. So I used to have to pee pretty constantly, especially like around when I was about to get my period, and which turns out a lot of the stuff was around my bladder, so it makes sense. Also, my periods were always easy, I thought, in the sense that they only lasted 3 days, usually. It was extremely heavy, crazy, like, change your tampon every hour for the first day and a half, and then after that it was just like, okay, you know. But I was like, well, who cares? I can have a heavy flow and have it end after 3 days. Like, I'm not going to complain about that. But also really painful, which I didn't realize.
Was more painful than most people, but it was a lot more painful than most people.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I would take, at the first sign of any kind of cramping at all, I would take 4 Advil and just keep taking 4 Advil every time. Like, you know.
Which is not a good idea for those of you at home trying to deal with period pain. That's more Advil than you should be taking.
Also, apparently, I just didn't realize that wasn't a normal thing. I thought that's what everyone did. Yeah. And I started talking to people more after the surgery and being like, what are your cramps like? And they were like, oh, I don't know. They're pretty annoying. I hate them. Like, yeah. Like, how much Advil do you take? And people would be like, oh, not usually any. Or maybe like 1 or 2. Right? So, and anybody who, you know, had similar pain to me, I'd be like, oh, you should go talk to your doctor.
Right.
You know. But anyway, and the biggest symptom, the thing that should have got this diagnosed way earlier.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Was well, you can tell this.
So Cassie, intermittently, every few months or so, would have abdominal pain so intense that she would be bent over in pain and unable to move. And we went to the emergency room once, and they said it was gas pain. And then a few months later, we went to urgent care, and they said it was gas pain. Mm-hmm. And I think both of us were kind of worried. I know I was secretly worried that there was something much worse going on. the doctors hadn't found.
At first I was. The first time I went to the emergency room, I only went because she told me to.
I mean, she was in so much pain and it didn't seem to be going away, and I was very worried.
Yeah, so we went, and, they kind of poked around my stomach, and they were like, it's not appendicitis, and everything feels normal, so...
Right.
Okay, stop that.
They gave us a speech about how gas pain can feel really bad, but...
Right.
You're totally fine, and made us feel like idiots.
Yeah, so I did that. Kind of was like, okay, well, and it went away, so it was, whatever.
Right.
And then when it happened again, we went to urgent care. And
right, because we didn't want an ER bill all over again.
Yeah.
But we were like, gosh, it must be something. And we tried to explain, I remember.
We did. And we talked to two different people, two different doctors, and they both were like, no. Yeah. I feel like now we shouldn't have told them that the people at the ER said it was gas pain, because...
That might have been the big mistake.
Maybe they were like, oh, okay, those people know what they're talking about.
Whatever it was, they did not seem to look too deeply into it, because the first time she got an ultrasound, it was very clearly apparent that you pretty much had this.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just those two. It was... I had to do a physical when I went to grad school, and I mentioned it. I wasn't having the pain at the time, but I mentioned it as, like, a thing, and they were pretty much said the same thing, like, oh, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
And at least, thankfully, the doctor, the fertility doctor that we were going to, when she saw the cyst... and
she just knew instantly.
She was like, have you not had any pain? Like, that's a pretty big cyst. And I was like...
yeah, tons.
Actually. And I mentioned that to her, and she was like, nobody suggested getting an ultrasound? Like, you got all these other organs. Which obviously she's going to think about the other organs because it's her specialty, but I didn't even think about it. I was like, oh, as long as my stomach and my intestines are fine, and...
Right, it just didn't...
It just didn't even
and it wasn't, like, during your period, so I don't think... And it wasn't every single month, so I don't think we connected it...
Yeah.
With lady problems.
I don't know if it was during my period.
I think it might have been around ovulation.
Before? That's possible.
Which would make sense if you had a cyst on your ovary.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Right?
Yeah,
I think,
that's a good point.
And it wasn't every single month, but you usually, when you have normal ovulation, sometimes it's from one side, sometimes it's from the other. So my guess is when it was on the cyst side was when you were doubled over in pain, when you were trying to ovulate with that big cyst on you.
Probably.
That would be now I'm not a doctor, but that would be my guess.
I also get ovulation pain, which I was always told was normal by my mom, who I found out later also has endometriosis.
Had two kids, though.
Mild. Yeah, and 2 kids. And also it's a lot more mild, and she just doesn't worry about it.
And her sister has it, we found out also.
Yeah, my aunt has it. Which I think I had been told, before, but hadn't really.
Your sister very likely has it.
Yes, my sister probably has it. My sister was told as a teenager that she probably had it. And she had really, really, really bad, obvious symptoms of something being wrong, which I think is probably part of why I didn't think anything was wrong with me, because comparatively, it wasn't, nearly as bad. What was I saying?
So I guess we should continue the story up until the present.
Oh, but there was something...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Related to...
Let's see. Period pain, ER, symptoms that went away after surgery.
Oh, ovulation pain.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, yeah. So I've been doing a lot more research about this kind of stuff and trying to figure out, like, what other symptoms have I not noticed, and also, like, what are possible symptoms that other people have, and just, I'm generally curious about medical stuff and fascinated by it, so while it's sad and stressful, it's also kind of fun to have a new bizarre disease to look up.
She's wicked into medical stuff.
I am, so, But yeah, so one of the things that I found was basically a list of, like, if you have a teenager who has these symptoms, get them to the doctor. And one of the things on the list was ovulation pain. Apparently, having pain during ovulation is not a normal thing. Uh-huh. Or at least, according to some of the stuff that I've read. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not trying to diagnose anybody or anything. But like, that surprised me. I was like, oh yeah, I've always had that. Like, it's never,
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that
was it.
Yeah, definitely if you think you might have endometriosis, endometriosis. It's not that uncommon, and you should get yourself checked out.
Before it gets to stage 4.
Before it gets to stage 4. And so, so we reached kind of the end of the 6-month period. And we did a lot of talking about whether we wanted to keep trying.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the benefits, the fertility benefits, if there are going to be any, are usually in that window, which meant that we could keep trying, but that it would become less and less likely. And remember, this whole time, all of this stuff, these rogue endometrial cells are growing back in Cassie. She's starting to have pain again. She's starting to worry that, she should be doing something to keep this in check.
Right, because I don't want to be... I mean, it's possible that the treatment I'll end up with will be surgeries every couple years, which is what some people do. But I want to go and talk to a doctor and see what other options I have.
Right, and that
birth control could work. Or...
That was all on hold.
Yeah.
And so what did you decide?
So I decided that I was getting too nervous about the symptoms coming back and too kind of just drained emotionally, I guess, by all of the attempts. And it would be okay if I felt like I had like a full year. If the doctor had said, it won't start going back for at least a full year, I'd probably keep trying. But feeling like if the symptoms are coming back, if it's likely to be already growing back in 6 months, if it's stressing me out this much, it seems like a better idea to just kind of pull the plug and get to a doctor and start dealing with this. And I'm 29, I'll be 29 very soon, this month in fact. And so the window for me to keep trying is really, really closing in. Like after 30, it's really, statistics are not on my side. They're not on my side now, but they're really not on my side at that point with this stage. And so I think, it's possible that I'll want to try again to actually get pregnant, because I am interested in being pregnant. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like weird biology stuff, so just think of it that way, I guess. And other things, it's cultural, sort of, I guess. Whatever. But it's not so important that I'm willing to kind of risk my own health. And I feel like I've always wanted to adopt kids anyways, and so have you, right?
Yeah.
So we were planning on me having one and then adopting any other kids that we had anyways. So now it's possible we'll just end up adopting all of them, which is fine, it's a good thing. It's, I'll love whatever kids we have, however we have them. But it is a little bit sad to think that this thing that I always assumed would be really easy. I always, bragged all smug, like, I'm a lesbian, I'll have to take birth control, right? And now I might have to take birth control, and it's not even, I can't even get pregnant, so joke's on me, I guess. Don't be an asshole.
So that's most of the story. Is there anything else?
I don't think so. Is there anything you want to say more?
I just think it's been so hard on you, and it's been hard on me too, because I really wanted the pregnancy and to, have a baby and stuff. Mm-hmm. But I think there's a huge difference when it's not your body that's that's the problem, and everything.
Yeah.
And so it's just been a really sorry, kind of sad time. And I think until we start really moving forward with some kind of adoption process,
it's going to be
it's going to feel a little bit that
cloud.
Way. Yeah, and we should probably say specifically that we are we're interested in children in the foster care system, and we're interested in older children. Mm-hmm. We're also interested in having an infant, maybe as part of a sibling group or a little toddler, child. Yeah, exactly. But that, that there are a lot of really great kids that could really use homes. and often the infants
are the ones
single infants are not the ones that are in the most need. So, so just as to put that out there, that we're not absolutely wedded to just getting a single infant.
Which is not. I mean, the plan was always to have me have a baby because I was interested in being pregnant and giving birth.
Yeah.
And then to adopt older kids.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be our baby, our infant.
Right. Which I'm not really ready to completely let go of the idea of having an infant, but if we had an infant as a part of a sibling group, or even, I mean, doesn't necessarily have to be an infant. It could be like a
little baby.
But like
not a
teeny toddler.
0-year-old, not a newborn. So yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, at this point, we kind of just have to see.
Yeah.
At this point, nothing is going the way that I thought it was going to go. So I definitely didn't think I would be married to a man at any point in my life, and also was pretty damn sure that I was fertile as hell. So right now, just family life,
full of
the future of my family.
Surprises.
Life is, yeah, God knows.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry
for the sadness, guys. We'll talk to you later.
We will. We're gonna go celebrate her birthday.
Yeah. Let's go.
Bye.
Bye.